So I just need a 1, 2, 3 clap, and then it ties in the audio and the video, and then you know all that stuff.
Yeah, cool.
All right.
Oh, I clap?
Yeah, you do 1, 2, 3. You clap it, and we'll kick this.
Okay,
off.
cool. 1, 2, 3, clap.
Awesome.
Cool.
Welcome back to Defining Moments Podcast. My name is Wong Lam, and today's very special guest is the co-host of the fourth quarter on the franchise 107.7 FM in Oklahoma City, 107.9 in Tulsa. He's also the producer and the host of the Sam Mays podcast, the All In podcast, and he co-hosts the OKC 82
Holy
podcast.
Holy crap.
Chisholm Holland, welcome to the Defining Moments Podcast, brother.
Dude, pumped to be here.
Yeah, man.
Pumped to be here.
So
for
how
sure.
was that?
Nailed my resume.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Did you like that?
That was impressive.
Thanks,
that was
man.
impressive,
Thanks.
for sure. Yeah.
I try to get that radio voice because I don't have a face for it.
Yeah, don't cover my job.
Yeah.
Don't send this into my employer. Yeah, for sure.
Before we get this started, man, there's a little something my wife and I wrote for you, and you don't have to don't read it out loud.
Okay.
It's just something for you.
Name spelled right correctly and everything.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and also, this is a little gift to you from us.
Oh, dude, this is awesome.
Yeah.
This is very cool.
Yeah, man.
For the camera.
Yeah.
For sure. Oh, dude, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
And here's a little something for you as well.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, man.
Well, now I feel awkward.
Why?
I have things I can just I can go see what's in my glove box. And
Hey, you got an air gauge? Because I got
yeah.
Air pressure's low on the left. So.
Dude, this is awesome. How cool.
Yeah, you drink coffee.
Oh, dude, I do.
And so,
live off of this stuff.
I mean, I don't know. You probably have a bunch of tumblers, but hey, there's a
I actually do.
one.
Well, in my house, there's a lot of tumblers. How many I'm allowed to use?
Yeah.
Very small number.
Okay.
It's all my wife. My wife owns the tumblers.
Yeah.
Because she takes them to work. Man, this is awesome.
Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. That's so cool.
Yeah, man.
Well, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I absolutely did not need to do that, man, but I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, we get to, and it's a pleasure to have you on.
For sure. Well, this is a sweet setup too, man.
Thanks, man. Do you remember how we first connected? I don't know if you remember this.
Well, Twitter, I mean, I know that you and I have been talking back and forth.
Right.
That's where most of my social interaction comes nowadays,
Yeah.
which I don't know if that's a good thing.
Same here, man.
Man, first interaction, I don't remember.
So, you built a fence. You tweeted about it. I can't remember. It was like spring, summer, and you were talking about it. I was like, okay, well, pictures. I want to see a picture. And you said pictures, so that's how.
Cool.
Yeah, that was my first interaction with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Small town kid.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up in a small town, so I don't. Not if you're a fence builder, like that's what you do for a living. Like I had nothing against you. I'm just like I'm not going to pay you to come build my fence. I'll build my own fence.
Right.
Yeah. So I knocked that out. Of course, about a week. That was fun.
Yeah, man.
Fun. Yeah, I built a giant fence.
Yeah.
A huge fence.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was an undertaking. Yeah, 10 feet tall, all the way around the house. So.
That's legit, dude.
Yeah.
10 feet tall, man.
It was a process. It was a process, but it was fun. It was fun for sure. That's so funny. The fence is what the first thing you saw.
Yeah. Well, I've heard your voice on the radio.
For sure.
But then, of course, seeing you on Twitter, and then you talked about fence. It's like when people are like, "Oh yeah, this is what I built." It's like, okay, cool. I want to see pictures.
Let's see it.
Yeah. Verify.
Prove it.
Yeah.
Prove it. Yeah, for sure. That's a good call.
Yeah, man. How are you doing today?
Doing good, man. Good day for sure. Actually, a little bit of a slower day for me as far as the rest of this week goes. I've been pretty busy.
Yeah.
But no, today I haven't done anything up until this point. Read a book most of the day.
Yeah.
So that's good. Yeah.
Married life, the wife and dogs.
Yes, one dog. I've had her, golly, a long time. She's the best dog on the planet. The absolute best dog on the planet. Her name's London. But yeah, been married for over a year as of last month. So
wow, man.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome, dude.
For sure.
So you're on the radio. You also call high school football games.
I do. Actually, just like
local.
right up the road. Yeah.
Yeah, more high school.
Yeah.
So how do you find time to edit podcasts, produce podcasts, deal with different personalities? How do you find time for Chisholm himself?
Oh man. Yeah, it's all a learning curve. Like when we just launched these podcast networks 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And I knew that it was going to be an undertaking when we did it. And you know, I'm one of those people that I like. We do it once. It's like, okay, so we did it this one time. How can we make it not only better, but how can we make it easier on ourselves?
Yeah.
So trying to streamline processes as much as possible. So those first few weeks, because between all 6 of the podcast feed, we probably post 45 a week.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of editing. It's a lot of editing.
Yeah.
Because I have to listen to everything before we post it. So it's not just, if it's an hour podcast, I'm listening to the whole hour all the way through and making little edits here and there.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of time. And so finding tricks and ways to simplify that process down as much as possible. So something that used to take me an hour and a half now takes me like an hour and 10 minutes.
Gotcha.
Okay, that takes me 20 minutes,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But honestly, it's what, I mean, most people who work in this industry would tell you, it just really never feels like work. Like it just doesn't.
Yeah. I
enjoy prepping for sports podcasts. I enjoy trying to figure out, okay, this is what I think. How do I back that up? How do I, prove that's actually, I know that's what I think, but my eyes, are they telling me the same thing the numbers are? And just, trying to go through that process. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the research part of it. High school football games and going to Thunder games, like, I'm just never going to complain about that.
Right.
Like, I'm just not.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So I never really get bogged down. It never just really feels like I'm working a whole lot, So, I mean, hours go by, and days go by, weekends go by, especially during football season where it's just all a blur. Yeah. But, I never, my wife would hate me if I heard me say this, but I never have like the exhaustion from a job.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like my wife will come home all the time and just be like, oh man, my mind is just mush. My brain's just tired. I've been working all day.
Yeah.
Like I'll be sleepy but I'm never just like, oh, I'm wiped and my brain's mush.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just different. It's just different when you kind of find something that just hits you personally and like you're just in a groove.
Yeah.
And just days go by and like hours go by and stuff like that, but it's just easy. It's just easy on you. So I don't know. I don't ever really think about the time for Chisholm thing. The only time I ever think is like when my mom calls me. It's like, hey, I haven't talked to you in a few days. I'm like, oh, sorry, Mom.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, that's the only thing. Outside of that, no.
Yeah. I always wondered because I feel like when I listen to you and Sam on the podcast, or if you're at a spot and you're doing a live broadcast, it just sounds so natural, so organic, authentic. It's like, man, it's like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. That's what it sounds like to me as a listener.
I appreciate that because that is, I could send you some tape from when I first started doing this, man, and that is not anywhere close to how it sounded. That was horrible. I was so bad. I was so worried about making sure everything I was saying was right. If you're getting into this industry, you're getting into sports, and you're not an athlete, just random people are like, okay, but what, why are you special? Why should I listen to what you're saying? And so you have this where you feel like you should prove your worth on some level.
Okay.
And really early on, man, I struggled with that. Like I wanted people to think I was smart. Like that's all I wanted. I wanted people to think I was smart. And then of course you realize I'm not. Yeah. And so then you're just fighting up a battle. And so like early on, that was really the process. And I stunk. I was horrible.
Really?
My bosses would tell I was horrible at it. And so, I mean, just time, and I do something that a lot of people don't, is anything I do, and I mean anything. Every radio show, I listen to the whole thing, front to back. And I listen to myself talk, and I just, tons of things that I'll get done with the show, and I'm like, that was a pretty good show, or that was a pretty good podcast.
Yeah.
But man, I could have done this better. I could have done this better. It was hard to understand me during this part. My idea was good, but I didn't explain it well enough. It was hard to follow. And so, just if you know you're not a natural, and I'm not a natural radio person, it's just putting the work in, So
wow.
I appreciate, dude, that is the nicest compliment anyone can give me, is if they say I sound natural, because I'm not natural. I'm not a natural person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how long have you been doing this? Let's say radio.
Well, I got my internship in 2014.
Right.
I wasn't on the air for that whole year. I was just odds and ends stuff, editing. That's where I learned how to edit, which at the time I thought was really stupid. And it's like, why do I want to learn how to? And now like I edit every day for 4 or 5 hours.
Wow.
And so like that skill has been huge, and it's helped me in other jobs and everything.
Yeah.
So 2014 is when I started. I didn't get on the air until I was with Dave Garrett, and that term was loose. Probably late 2015. And when I was with Dave, it was Dave, and I don't know if you're familiar with his old show.
DG on the radio.
Yeah, DG on the radio.
Yeah.
It was Dave and his cell phone, and people would text his cell phone, and he would just read the questions, which is great. And it was a great show, and people really loved it. People ask us about it all the time. But as a producer, I never talked. Yeah. Like I was literally just there to make sure Dave's mic worked and that the commercials played. Like that's all I was there for. So I would say I actually like got on the air until probably middle of 2016.
Okay.
That was really when I was actually getting airtime consistently enough where I was having the realization like I'm not as good at this as I thought I was.
Yeah.
I really need to work at this. So 2016 is when I started talking, but I've been doing the sports media stuff since 2014.
Man. So starting back in mid-2016, what's something that you learned from that point till now being on air?
Oh man, that point to now, a ton. It's a lot harder than you think. I mean, growing up in Oklahoma, and I have no problem. So I work at the franchise, which is 107.7. Yeah. There's another sports station in town called the Sports Animal, 98.1.
Yep.
And they've been around since my grandpa was a kid. They've been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
So I grew up listening to the Sports Animal, and Jim and Al and all those guys who I've never had the pleasure of meeting, but I tell you, like, those guys who made me want to do this.
That's awesome.
Because they sounded like they're having fun, and I was like, dude, I just get around and talk about basketball or football all day and like crack jokes. Like that sounds awesome. That's like, I got into high school and I got into college and I was like, oh, I could do that.
Yeah.
Like I could do that. And then I got there and I couldn't. Like I just thought I was going to sit down and just like, because I'm a pretty charismatic guy.
Yeah.
And
sure.
I usually speak pretty well. I did a lot of public speaking in college and all that stuff. I thought, radio, easy transition.
Yeah.
It's just the same thing. It's just different. It's hard to explain until you do it. It's just different when you're doing live radio. Podcasts are even a different format that it feels a little different. But live radio is just a different animal. And I thought it was going to be really easy, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
And so then you get up there, and I don't know if you do this on podcasts, but like on a podcast, God forbid, if you hit like a mental brick wall and you can't think of somebody's name or you can't think of whatever, worst comes to worst, you just pause it. Like that's the worst comes to worst, you just pause the recording.
True.
That's the last case. Radio, you're just up a creek. You know what I mean? Like you just got to fight through it. So it's just not as easy as I thought. And I honestly thought, man, I'm going to get that job. I'm going to work in radio.
Yeah.
I'll work a couple hours a day. I'll hang out with some people that I like. I'll joke around, talk about sports, be funny, and I'll go home. And like that'll be my whole life. And in my head, it's like I'll work like 10 hours a week. I'll work 15 hours a week. It's just talking sports. I already watch sports. It'll be so easy. And now, I mean, I work so much more than I thought because it's so much more labor intensive, but it's a process. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not as easy as people think it is. Some people are naturals. Colby Daniels is a guy who I work with every day. That dude is just sat down in the chair for the first time. He's just a natural. He can just do it.
Wow.
But those people are few and far between. Most people I work with have to work at it a lot.
Yeah. I would think that, I know, let's just say, for me, I don't know if I could ever do it. I would try, but man.
Yeah.
That's tough stuff, especially being live on the air, taking phone calls, pinging off of the co-host.
Yeah.
Their vibe.
And it's not a conversation.
No.
You know what I mean? It's like not you and the co-host are just chatting it up like at a bar. If that's what it was, like I could kill that. I could I could do that, but it's not that. So yeah, you're right. It's chemistry of who you're working with. Like if me and someone like Todd Lisenby is one of my absolute best friends. Love Todd. And he does a show every day from 9 to noon. Me and Todd, though, maybe 15 hours of total radio since I've been there. Like on the air together. We just haven't crossed over a whole lot.
Okay.
Because he's in the mornings, I'm at night.
Yep.
So a handful of times I've helped fill in and stuff like that, but nothing outrageous. And this past year, me and him called football games together. And like I said, I've known Todd since 2014. He's one of my best friends. Like I was at his wedding. Like I know Todd really, really well. We talk all the time. We got on the air together and it was a disaster. It was a disaster.
Really?
The first couple of games were a disaster just because we had no feel for each other.
Oh,
and there's a lot of that to it. And so you're right. As far as being on there with a co-host and going back and forth, it's just not what people think it is.
Yeah.
And if you're listening to a radio and it just sounds like they're just cutting up and it sounds like they're just having a conversation, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But that's so hard to do. So hard to do. So yeah, there's just a lot to it.
Yeah.
A lot to it for sure.
Well,
Making it sound like a brain surgery now. That's not the case.
Well, it's a lot of brain thinking.
Yeah.
I'm burning some cells. I'm burning some calories thinking about what you're talking about.
Sure.
And so you talked about Todd and you talked about DG. What about personalities like Madison or even Sam Mays?
Yeah.
He's I like your guys' banter because I feel like you guys are just totally unfiltered. And when I listen to you on the drive home, I chuckle, man. I was like, dude, these guys are legit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sam is, I'm just honest. I'm just blessed to have Sam. You know, and I know people who listen to him. I mean, people are either like in Sam's corner or they hate him. And that's great. That's great for radio. Like you either want people to love you or hate you.
Okay.
Because either way they're listening, which is great. That's all you're trying to get is people to listen. And it's not about making people hate you to hate you. It's about making people think about your opinion. You know, so if you're saying something they disagree with, they're thinking about it. And if they hate you, that means they're dwelling on it. You know, they're thinking about it all the time, and it's getting them angsty. That's exactly what you want. And so Sam is incredible at that. And Sam and I now work together every day. I mean, he's the guy who I work with the most now at the franchise by far.
Yeah.
And I've just learned a ton from him. But what I will give Sam, and he does not get any credit for this, I mean, is that he is a loud voice. He's a yeller. He's got emotions all over the place.
Yeah.
But Sam can take a joke as well as anyone I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
Like, he can laugh at himself and, like, not take himself. And I know that sounds so counterintuitive because he's a yeller.
Yeah.
But if you make a joke about Sam, Sam will laugh at it.
Yeah.
And that is such a rare trait. Willing to look stupid on the radio, man, those people are few. I struggle with that.
Yeah.
You know, if someone like, I can take one or two, but if someone's like coming after me over and over and over, like eventually I'm just going to push back and it becomes a thing. People who can just laugh at themselves when they do something wrong or laugh at themselves when someone else makes a joke about them. Like, Sam is the only person I've ever met that every single time, like, he's on board with it. Well, that's great because I assume I can swear.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'm a smart ass. And like, so like, I pop off all the time, and like, I have no problems like making fun of someone and someone making fun of me, and we going back and forth a little bit. And Sam is the first person I've worked with that anything I throw at him, if it's in good faith, like if I'm just outright mean, that would be different. But if I'm just trying to be funny and that's clear, Sam will go along with it. Yeah. So Sam makes it so easy.
Okay.
So easy because that's something that no one ever talks about with him because again, he yells a lot. He, you know, gets stuff for the Oklahoma State stuff all the time and his opinions, and he's very emotional. But Sam takes a joke better than anyone else in the state. I'm serious. It's not close. The guy has such a great sense of humor about himself. He makes it so easy to work with him. Okay. Yeah.
You talked about the banter and you talked about him taking jokes and you're able to take jokes. And I think most of us, except for Sam maybe, to a certain extent, gets a little bit like, dude, come on now, easy. Yeah. How do you deal with negativity, especially on Twitter?
Oh, dude, that's a totally different animal. So I only have Twitter. Don't have any other social media. You know, and it's funny that you bring this up. Today, I was just watching stuff on Twitter, just going, what is wrong with people? Like, what is the deal? So I don't have Twitter because I had a Facebook, and I had a little brother who had a Facebook. My name's Chisholm Holland. Like, if you search me on Google, whether you live in Alabama or New York or in Oklahoma, you're going to find me. There's not any Chisholm Hollands running around. You know what I mean? It's a very unique name. And so I said something about Oklahoma football that someone didn't like, which if you say anything negative about Oklahoma football, someone doesn't like it, which is fine. Again, you want people to hate you or love you. Gotcha. So like that didn't bother me, but I had a Facebook at the time. They found me, which isn't a problem. You know, I don't care if you find me. They found my girlfriend, who ended up being my wife, and they found my little brother, who's 8 years younger than I am. And they went after those two people. And that was something I had experienced people come after me and saying I'm stupid or I'm wrong or I'm an idiot. Because first off, all those things are true. But like I can accept that on some level. But where I struggle the most with social media is people, if you get really under their skin, and like I said, I'm trying to remember what it was because I think it was right after OU beat Alabama in the Sugar Bowl, and I said, yeah, that's great. That doesn't change the fact they had a really disappointing season or something along those lines, which I don't feel like it's that controversial. But anyway, it just, for whatever reason, it hit this one guy personally. Like, and he just couldn't let it go. And he went after my girlfriend and my little brother and said some stuff. So that's why I don't have a Facebook anymore, because I don't want to be connected to people who are going to be brought into my little weird orbit of having to put up with stuff. That's all just to say that social media is a hateful place sometimes. But as far as Twitter goes, it takes an adjustment. Because I went from someone who didn't have a Twitter. I got my internship at the radio station. And I made it my first day there. All I had at that point was a Facebook. Couldn't explain why. So I made my Twitter the first day there, and then all of a sudden, just from the radio, I had these strangers, and like that's just a different experience when you have strangers who feel like they know you, And that's what's really, really jarring with Twitter is because, Jim, who works for 7-Eleven, gets off at 4 o'clock every day and he drives home to Moore. It takes him 45 minutes. And for that 45 minutes, he listens to me every single day.
Yep.
And I appreciate Jim. So he listens to me talk about my wife. He listens to me talk about my dog. He listens to me talk about my favorite sports teams. He listens to me tell funny stories about my parents because my parents are hysterical.
Mm-hmm.
He feels like he knows me. I've never in my life talked or seen Jim ever.
Okay.
So then when I make Jim mad, he doesn't come at me as a stranger. He comes at me like someone who feels like he's coming after someone he knows personally.
Oh.
And what he realizes is he doesn't know me. I don't know him.
Yeah.
I'm just on the radio. And so it's hard to explain until you get put into that world that there's people being hateful on Twitter to strangers, and there's being hateful to people on the radio or people on TV or any medium like that, is because the person coming after you feels like they know you. So they're just a little bit sharper and a little bit more pointed and a little bit more personal because they know. And they feel like they have that right because they know you.
Gotcha.
And so first year I was there, again, I'm a smartass. I mean, anybody who came after me, I'm right back.
Wow.
Like, I'm just right back. And I was 20 at the time.
Okay.
So I mean, whatever. And I have no problem arguing with people, and then like I get people riled up, and I just had to learn like that's just not going to work. Like you can't do that forever. And I'm by no means famous, and I'm sure like when you drop this podcast, this video, 95% of people will be like, "Who the hell is that guy?" So I'm not saying that because I'm some big celebrity, and that's just not the case. But my following has gotten a little bit bigger, where I'm getting way more daily interaction, and I was like, this is just, I have to stop on some level. So with Twitter, I mean, I just don't pay attention. Yeah. I mean, I just shoot out my ideas every so often. If I'm like home alone and my wife's out of town, I'll read my replies just so I have something to do. Maybe go back and forth with somebody, but if not, man, I just don't look.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't even check it. Sometimes the negativity.
Because Twitter, you can be anonymous. I don't want to argue with, and I'm just making up a Twitter handle, but like I don't want to argue with SoonerFan752.
Yeah.
Because I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
That could be anybody. That could be my dad.
Yeah.
Like, I have no clue. I don't want to argue with that person. Now, if someone's name, if someone has their name in their Twitter handle and a photo of them and their wife, I am way more likely to interact with you and go back and forth because I know that there's some social standard here. Because if you're just an outrageous douche and you say something just hateful, and you you call me a word that you would never say in front of your mother,
right?
Or you come to me personally. Well, that's on your Twitter account with your name on it and a picture of your wife. Like everyone knows that you're a jerk, and I'm cool with that. I have no problem with you being a jerk on social media as long as you own it. It's the anonymous people being rude or hateful or all that stuff that gets you really riled up. Yeah, because I just like, what? You have nothing to lose here, so of course you're a jerk. Yeah.
That's really interesting because obviously on my Twitter handle it's at Def Moments Pod, so it's just my logo, the logo of our podcast, and
which is different.
Yeah,
because you have a podcast, you have a feed, you have a way for people to interact with you. You're just like a random bot. Like, I don't know what to do.
And so when we interact, for a lack of a better phrase, we don't have any fun, cool, controversial hot takes. We just try to interact with people and try to get to know them. Like, so for instance, you said 95% of the people may not know who you are when this podcast drops on YouTube or on platforms. However, they're going to know your name. They'll be like, "Oh, that's that guy that does an all-in podcast." Sure. So that's what we're after. We're after, like, dude, what drives Chisholm to be Chisholm?
Well, I want to be Chisholm because I've not been Chisholm. I assume everyone who is a young adult. I worked at the radio station my last 2 years of college. And then right out of college, I worked there for a little tiny bit. And then in late 2016, I found a different job. Someone offered me more money than I ever made in my life, doing a job that I didn't know if I was going to like or not, but that paycheck sounded great. And if people think that anyone gets rich on radio, let me tell you, you don't. Like, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't have my wife. If I wasn't married to my wife and she didn't have her job, I'd be doing something else. I couldn't live. I could not live I would not make enough money to support myself.
Wow.
So, I mean, sacrifices are made to do this. But anyway, so someone offered me a ton of money. And I knew I was going to be proposing to my wife soon. And I was like, Okay, I'm going to do it. So I just went and made a bunch of money for a couple of years. Was super successful. If I ever wanted to get a job kind of back in that field again, I could probably do it because I've got some pretty strong resume numbers and I was pretty good at it. I was miserable. I hated it. I hated it. And, you know, we were talking about earlier about my wife coming home and her brain was mush. I wasn't necessarily like my brain is mush because I'm pretty good about like, if I have to do this, I can get it done. Like I'm one of those people who wake up in the morning and like I'm in the shower in 60 seconds from me waking up. Like I just start my day and I just get after it. But I was like defeated, you know what I mean? Just like emotionally and spiritually, just defeated and had no idea what I wanted to do. And I just felt like I was running 100 miles an hour on a treadmill and like just going nowhere. And I was like, I was just miserable. So like I said, I was making a lot of money. And so I started going to vacations a lot, started buying stuff. You know, I always had the new iPhone. Like I always had all this stuff. And I just couldn't get it figured out. Like I just could not figure out what the issue was. And I was just miserable. And so, I mean, eventually it just hit you like a sack of bricks. Like, oh, this is not what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. Like this is not who I am. And I was like I was in a sales marketing job and I was really good at it. But on some level that feels a little phony because you're like trying to convince someone to spend their money on something. And they might give you like well, we don't really have money for it at that time or whatever. And I'm like, no, you really do. Yeah. And so like, I just didn't feel like myself. And I talked to my wife about it and we talked about, you know, how happy I was when I was doing the sports thing and got back into it. And I'm broke. I have had the same iPhone since I came back at the radio station. Like I can't afford to upgrade. I will never buy a new car. I'll drive that one until it's dead. You know, we don't get to go eat out all the time. I have to cook a lot, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
And I would not change it for the world. And all of a sudden, it's kind of like what we talked about at the start. Is all of a sudden I just felt like, oh, this is my groove. Like this is what I'm supposed to do. And I don't know if like I don't think I'm ever going to be like not coming to you live from New York City, Chisholm Holland. Like that's just never going to be me. That sounds miserable to me. Yeah. But like doing this and like being on the local level and just doing high school sports and covering a local football team and all that, like wouldn't change it. Yeah. Wouldn't change it for anything. And it just you know, just feels like myself. And I hope everyone finds that eventually. Hope they make more money than I do. Yeah. But you know, they find that eventually.
Yeah. Not to get off topic. But
No.
You kind of look like a Kirk Herbstreit.
Kirk Herbstreit?
Yeah. You ever get that? I mean,
do I look like Kirk?
Yeah.
I'll take that. That's a strong looking dude.
I mean, yeah, you're right. He's a strong looking dude.
I usually get James Franco.
Okay.
I get James Franco a lot. Yeah. But he's a pothead, and now James Franco's got some other stuff going on, so don't know if I want that comparison anymore. Usually that's a celebrity comparison, I guess, James Franco.
We'll take the Herbstreit level.
Yeah, Herbstreit I'll take.
Yeah.
I'll take Herbstreit. It's a good looking dude. I wish I was a sideline reporter.
Man, I wish I was a good looking dude, period, so whatever, man.
For sure. Yeah.
What's your favorite part about covering high school sports?
Oh, man. So I've been to a Super Bowl. I've done Dallas Cowboy games. I've done, obviously, a ton of OU stuff, Oklahoma State stuff. I was UCO, even. High school's different. It's just different. And it's hard to explain until you're down on the sidelines every single game. You see kids who are fighting for it every single week. And you could feel that, like, it's hard. Again, if you haven't been down on a sideline for every level of these, it's hard to explain. Pro teams, college teams, on some level, you can tell, like, it really matters. High school, it's like their life. Like, every snap is just everything to these kids. And they just want to be successful so bad. And what's so much fun about high school football is sometimes they stink. Yeah. Like, it's like, yeah, you're not going to play in college, my man. Like, you got no chance. But, like, that kid works hard at it every single day. And he's, like, overachieving by, 5 different levels because he's working so hard because he just wants to be good. Yeah. And it's hard to explain until, like I said, you can see the difference. But high school is just, like, those kids' identities are just so much more wrapped into it. Because especially at, like, the small town level where I grew up, if you fail, like, if I played a bad basketball game in high school, my mom and my dad knew it because they were there. Yeah. My preacher knew it. Yeah. My teachers knew it. Right. The guy who ran the gas station up the road, who I fill up my tank every morning, knew it. The girl who sells me the donuts on Tuesday morning knew it. Like, it's different. It's just, and I'm not saying big city schools are worse or better. I'm just saying, especially small town football, it's just so different. and how every single snap matters, because if you turn around and look at the stands, you can see their parents, their grandparents, their aunts and uncles, their cousins who are there. And like I said, everyone from the community who these kids see every day. So they not only want to perform for themselves and for their family, but they want to perform for their town.
Yeah.
And it matters a whole lot.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, high school sports, I basically pay to do high school sports. Like, I'm losing money by doing high school sports.
Yeah.
And I'm if I can, I'm going to try to do it every year till I die. Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'll do high school football till I die. It's just different. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the reason I asked that, because I've heard you call some high school games, and then also I heard a conversation on the radio on the drive home on Friday night. I think Sam Mays was, you and him were going back and forth about calling high school football games, and you're like, "Nah, dude, this isn't for you, Sam." And he's like, "Why?" Because it's color commentary. And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I kind of saw where this was going with the commentary. It's just pretty funny because it's unfiltered,
right?
So I was like, "Man, I can appreciate you guys, just being fun, and no one taking it too hard on each other, man."
Me and Sam have a pretty good relationship going back and forth. And I don't know if people like this. For all I know, people listen to me and they go, "God, I hate that Chisholm kid." But I like not making it sound like we do is like brain surgery on some level. And I like telling people kind of what the process is, because before I got into it, I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, talking about color commentary and stuff like that, and Sam would suck at it. He'd be horrible. Because it's just not built for him. Because you got to explain everything that happened in 20 seconds. And Sam is long-winded.
Yep.
So he can't do it in 20 seconds. But yeah, so I mean, it's fun. It's fun to go back and forth and kind of talk about all that stuff. And people ask me questions all the time, and I love talking about sports media. I love talking about the industry and where it's going, and radio and TV now, but streaming and podcasts and the internet later. I love that conversation.
Yeah.
Brady Trantham works at the franchise. Me and him,
Yep.
We record a podcast every week, and I would say we probably talk for an hour and a half before we actually start recording, just about the industry and thoughts of where it's going and what ideas could work. And hey, I have this crazy idea. Do you think that would ever happen? If we try to do this, would it happen? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I find stuff like that super interesting.
Yeah. You talk about questions. What are a couple questions that people never ask you, but you wish they would ask?
About my job?
It's about you, your job, anything.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't get asked questions a whole lot. On the fourth quarter, I mean, it's Sam. I totally get it. Sam has been in the radio for a long time. So people are calling to talk to Sam. No one's calling to talk to Chisholm. If you notice when people call in, they go, "Hey, Sam, I got a question for you." No one ever says, "Hey, Chisholm." No one. My dad actually called in once as a joke while I was on remote. So I'm usually the one answering the phone to put people on the air. If I'm on a remote, I'm not. And my dad called in once because he knew I wasn't in studio. And "Hey, this is Corey from Marlowe." And as soon as he says that, that's my dad. And he knows that I've made jokes about that before. And he goes, "Sam, I got a question for you." And that was this no one on the planet knew that was supposed to be funny. You know what I mean? No one knew that was a joke. And I died laughing. This just shows you how funny my parents are. They're way funnier than I am.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. Anyway, as far as questions that people ask me, I mean, I don't know. I'm a pretty open book. Not a whole lot that I don't mind talking about. I don't know. That's tough. Yeah. I'm sure if you ask me something, like I said, I wouldn't mind talking about it. But most people, anytime that someone finds out I work at the franchise or they recognize me, which is very rare, they just want to talk to me about the Thunder or OU football.
OU football.
Yeah. So usually those are the questions I get, which is fine.
Yeah.
But great one is if you actually know me, my number one sport is the NFL, and we never talk about the NFL.
Yeah.
Well, not as much as I would want to. We talk about it sometimes. So I live and die for who do I think is going to win the Super Bowl? What do I think the playoff seeding is going to look like? Who's looking good right now? And all that stuff, which is why I'm glad the podcast started, because that gives me a little bit more leadway in that direction. But yeah, I would probably talk more about the NFL if that was a choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl next 2020 February?
Well, first off, I'm going to say the Patriots, because I'm just going to pick the Patriots every year till they just don't. Because there's a 50-50 shot I'm right. You know what I mean? That's a pretty good odds. So I'll just say the Patriots. But
Love it.
yeah. I would say my favorite team to watch in the NFL this year is San Francisco by a mile. I love the fact that the NFL was going the Mike Leach. We're going to throw the ball 50 times a game. We're going to get 4 receivers out here, 1 running back or 5 receivers and run an empty set. We're going to sling the ball all over the yard, and that's kind of where everybody was going.
Yeah.
And then San Francisco's like, not so fast, my friend. We're going to run the ball 42 times a game. We're going to play incredible defense. Our defensive backs are going to be huge. Our defensive ends are going to be fast. And I like, and it's not the fact that I like that style of play more. I love it when a team zags when everyone else is zigging. I like the team that's like standing out and doing it different.
Yeah.
Love that team.
Okay.
So that's all I like San Francisco and Baltimore a lot this year for that reason.
Wow.
Yeah. Just because they're different. Everyone else is throwing the ball. And they're like, yeah, we're going to run the ball. And that's just not where everyone else is going.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I like right now.
Dallas Cowboys, are they, what do they call it? You think they're going to make the playoffs this year?
That's tough. They got a 1-game lead on Philadelphia right now.
Right.
1 more game to go between the two. So Dallas would have to lose a game between now and then. Not to Philadelphia. To ensure, I don't think either one will be a wild card. Dallas stands a pretty good chance. Their schedule's a little bit tougher than Philly's down the stretch. So I would put it like 50-50.
Yeah.
It's one of those teams going to get in, and I don't know which one, but Dallas is okay. They're not as good as they looked early in the year, but they're okay.
The phrase I was looking for is contender or pretender for the Cowboys. That's what I wanted to know.
There's a term I use all the time called a good bad team, and the Dallas Cowboys are the quintessential good bad team. They beat the bad teams, they lose to the good ones, and that's just who they're going to be. Every game, if you go into it and you say, okay, Dallas is better than them, Dallas will win. And if you go, oh, Dallas is worse, they're never going to upset anybody.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of who Dallas is.
Yeah, because they went through a 4-0 stretch, and then they went to an 0-3 stretch.
Right.
Right. So.
Right.
Then they went back into.
Yeah. Then they beat the Eagles, of course.
Yeah. And the Eagles. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's kind of who they are. I think that they're just one of those mediocre teams, kind of in the middle. Yeah. No one likes hearing that. That's kind of what they are. That's what Philly is too. But so.
What's your least favorite sport to talk about?
Sports I don't know anything about. I love talking about soccer, and we never talk about soccer.
Yeah.
Not like USL stuff, or not USL. Not the Premier League stuff.
Right.
Because I don't follow that. But like my mom's from Argentina.
Cool. So
like global soccer.
Yeah.
Like World Cups and stuff like that. Like all the way in. We never ever talk about that. So soccer, I would love to talk more about on the international level. As far as sports I don't like talking about. Honest? I don't know how people watch this. College football, I think it's so boring and so predictable. Look at the college football playoff. It's 3 of the 4 teams that get in every year have made a college football playoff before. It's the same 6 teams over and over and over with one team who kind of comes out of nowhere, quote unquote. That's super boring. I hate predictability. So like basketball as well. I mean, I love the NBA. You know, my dad's a big NBA fan. That was probably like my number 1 sport as a kid. Okay. My dad's a basketball guy. So like me and my dad watched a lot of basketball together growing up. And that's what I like about the NBA. And then, these past few years, it's been tough with Kevin at Golden State. And now the fact that's not the case anymore, less predictable, I enjoy that. And so that's why I don't like college football, is because if you said at the start of the year, Chisholm, you get to pick 6 teams. And if one of those teams win a national title, I'll give you $100. But if one of them don't, you have to give me $1,000. I'd make that bet every year, and I would win every single time. Yeah, that's just how it is. Yeah, that's boring. That's really, really boring. But if you're like an Oklahoma alum, I didn't go to OU. Yeah, if you're an Oklahoma alum and like that's like your identity, and I'm wrapped up, I totally get it. I'm just saying, as someone who doesn't have ties to a school, because I went to UCO. Yeah. Just real boring. Yeah,
well,
just real
predictable. Pretty good football too, though. Not bad.
See, again, okay, so I went to that school. I want them to be really good. They're fine this year. Yeah. Yeah, they're middle of the road. Yeah, they're okay. Yeah. Because we thought this year was going to be a big turning point for the program. We thought they might have a real chance at doing something special. They've been a little underwhelming. But so college, I mean, the one I talk about the most is college football, and I would tell you it's kind of the most boring.
Oh, that's fair, man. Yeah. That's fair. Well, I graduated from OU, and obviously I played soccer, high school, college, and I coached competitive soccer for a very long time. Really? And if you were to say, hey, man, Juan, what's your favorite sport? People would think, oh, you're a soccer guy. It's like, dude, OU football. Yeah. But I'm also a realist. I'm very optimistic. I think we should win it every year.
Right.
But being real, like, you lost to Kansas State off of a whatever onside kick. Well, it's done with. I mean, now you got 4 more games to focus on, and you could drop all 4. Let's be real. So.
Sure.
Anyways, yeah.
Sure. But yeah, so that's the one I don't enjoy talking about, just because, again, if I could pick 6 teams, I could guess the national champion every year, and that's boring. That's just really boring. But if you're cheering for one of those 6 schools,
that's good for you,
it's
right?
a ton of fun. Yeah. Yeah. I always tell people my favorite day at work is either when OU wins by 40 or they lose. Like those middle of the road games, you come back, you're like, oh yeah, they looked okay. That's kind of boring. But you come in, hey man, they looked really good. This could be the year. They could beat Alabama. That's fun. Or if you're like, I don't know what the hell's going on in Norman, that's also fun. Like I'm just in it to have fun, and like that is like the 2 spectrums.
Dude, I mean, people have meltdowns though. Dude, you know what I mean?
It's so weird. Like, obviously, what we tried at the radio station, and me specific. I mean, I really try my best to like read. If you send in a text to the text line, like I'm trying to make sure I read it and know what people are finding interesting, and kind of go those directions. It'd be really social media heavy as much as I can. The phone calls are great for that. So a lot of our content comes in that direction. After an OU loss, crickets.
Really?
Oh yeah, man. People don't want to talk. And you think OU fans would be mad or angry or want to defend their team and say, hey, I know we lost, but OU fans like drop off the face of the planet. I bet we probably, the Monday after K-State, I think we took 2 phone calls. Usually we'll take 25 in a show.
Wow.
I think we took 2. Usually I have to tell people no, like, hey, sorry, we don't have enough time.
Yeah.
People just don't want to talk about it. It's so weird. So weird. People wrapped up, man. People love OU football, and I get it. It's cool. Yeah.
Wow. Early in the conversation, you talked about getting up out of your bed to the shower in 60 seconds. You go through your day, there's a checklist. Or is there a couple things that you have to do, like your habits, not including coffee, because I know you're a coffee connoisseur.
Coffee drinker.
Yeah, so besides coffee, are there a couple things that Chisholm has to do for his day to work?
Sure. So since I started doing the radio, I work a lot of nights and weekends, so I have time in the morning. So I'm a little bit lucky with kind of the fact that I have like a couple hours every morning to kind of like do a routine. Yeah. Most people are like trying to get as much sleep as possible so they can wake up, shower, go to work. Yeah. I don't have that pressure because like the earliest thing I ever have to do is like 10 a.m. So I've got a couple hours to kind of figure myself out. So first thing I do every morning, I got this from my dad, is I rinse off. I don't like take a shower. I don't put like soap on, but I get in the water. Yeah, most mornings I take a cold shower, except for the winter. I won't take a cold shower because you're just torturing yourself at that point. But I'll take a cold shower most mornings. Okay. Just kind of rinse off and get my body awake. Yeah. Kind of give yourself a jolt to the system. I run every morning. So run most of the time outside. This morning, today might have been the last day I ran outside for a while. Dude. Yeah. But most of the time outside. I run, take my dog on a walk. Okay. My dog walks 3 miles every day. Nice. So she walks a ways. And then while I'm walking her is whenever I'll listen to podcasts. I always try to make sure, doing what I do, I want to make sure I'm listening to people. Yeah. Okay, like how far back, what do they think? Do I agree with them? Because you're always trying to churn and think on stuff. So that's walking my dog. That takes about an hour. I listen to podcasts and stuff in that process. And so running, walk my dog, and then I read. No problem. Like I'm a Christian, pretty proud. Awesome. Go to a great church on 23rd Street. So read my Bible for about a half hour, and then this year, I'm proud to say, my New Year's resolution was I wanted to read a book every single morning. Like I was reading the Bible, I wanted to read a book. Okay. Because I used to read quite a bit, and then the past few years I've just stopped. Yeah. And I don't like that. So yeah, I read an actual book every morning. So, man, trying to expand my horizons. Usually I read like nonfiction. Okay. Biographies, stuff like that. Yep. I'm reading The Martian, which is that Mark Wahlberg movie right now. Yep. So like, okay, I'm gonna do like a sci-fi fiction book. Okay. I don't know. We'll see if I like it. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so that's kind awesome. Of about 2.5 hours worth of stuff that I do every morning. That's great, man. Dude, I like your energy. I like your presence in this this room. I really do. I appreciate it. It's enjoyable. It's the first time I met you in person. Yeah. Man. I have a good vibe with you, man. Sure. So I appreciate it. Sure. Yeah, man. I appreciate it. We talked about your habits and who are like maybe 2 or 3 people you wish you could meet
in person if there's no social media? Or if you need, let's just say this, that you needed to talk to someone and there's no social media, who would you reach out to?
So who do I already personally know?
Or whomever. If there was no social media, who would you want to call up, say, hey, I want to talk to you for whatever reason?
Sure. Again, I hope people listen to what I'm saying and not what I'm not saying. One of the biggest influences on, like, if I had to say, like, I have a style.
Yeah.
And like someone whose content, and this big thing that people struggle with is just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean that I have to hate you.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's a guy who I think does content just about as well as anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of the stuff I don't agree with, but I think he does content really well, is Bill Simmons.
Okay.
Yeah, he owns TheRinger.com now out of LA. He was at ESPN for a long time.
Yep.
He's been very, very harsh on Oklahoma City specifically. And this is a bad day to bring it up because he just released an article that real tough on Oklahoma City. But again, it's about his style, the way he writes, the way he talks, his thought process. He's well researched, but also well opinionated. He's not a fence sitter. You can be really, really popular in media if you just never tick anybody off and just sit the fence, and everyone's like, yeah, he's fine. No one loves you. No one hates you. He's not that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that about him because I generally find the people who are sitting the fence constantly are way less authentic than the people who are on the outsides.
Yeah.
So anyway, he's well researched. He's well opinionated. And the way he presents stories, again, I don't always agree with him. I don't agree with most of them.
Yeah.
But he does it in such an interesting way because you could tell he is so smart and so bright, but he sounds so casual.
Yeah.
And I love that about him.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, Bill would definitely be a guy who I've never met, never been in the same room as. I mean, in a heartbeat, I would love to meet him. My dad is someone who is just the dopest human alive. Yeah, it makes me sick because he is such a good person and so smart, so funny. Everyone loves my dad.
Yeah.
Like 80% of the people I meet don't know me because of the radio. You think that'd be it. But most people go, oh, your name's Chisholm? Is your dad Corey? Like, I get that all the time because my dad is just that guy.
Yeah.
You know, just everyone knows my dad. But anyway, so my dad has been huge.
That's cool, man.
Anytime I have a stressful day or whatever, and, you know, I just always call my dad. And sometimes I call my dad and I'm like, I'm worked up and like I won't even talk to him about it. We'll just talk.
Yeah.
And again, my dad's that first person that I really formed kind of a relationship with in sports. Like, we just watched a lot of sports together.
Yeah.
So like, I love talking to Sam. I love talking to Brady. I love talking to Chase and Bennett, the guys I do the podcast with.
Yeah.
And I do that. My favorite person to talk sports with is my dad. Like,
That's
it's
cool,
just not
man.
even close. So that's a big one for sure.
That's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
You're only, what, mid-20s?
26.
26, yeah.
Yeah.
So, is there any piece of advice you would give your younger self, your 15-year-old self, 16-year-old self?
Yeah. Oh, man. Again, I'm going to... Honest. The college thing was a mistake. And I don't mean going to college. Like I said, I thought I wanted to do this for a long time. Like, I thought this is what I wanted to do. And when I went into college, the franchise didn't even exist.
Right.
Like, it wasn't even a radio station my freshman year. So, I mean, we're new. We're brand new. But I knew this is what I wanted to do. And I didn't believe in myself. And I didn't major in journalism, even though I really thought that's what I wanted to do. It's like, nah, do something safer. Get a different degree in case it doesn't work out. And it hasn't worked out yet. Like, I'm still trying to get there. But you know, do something safer. Do something that if everything goes wrong, you have something to fall back on. You know, what a mistake. What a stupid mentality. Like, why would you not believe in yourself on some level? And I don't know how I talked myself into that. Like, most people say, like, my parents didn't believe in me. My parents don't. That's not. My parents told me to do whatever I wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know, through high school at a small town, I was an athlete. I did student council. Like, I mean, I did everything. I was I was a well-known kid in town. I did a whole lot. And I was terrified to fail.
Yeah.
I was terrified to do the journalism thing And again, at the time, there's only one radio station in Oklahoma City doing sports. So your like number of jobs, tiny, tiny. And anybody my age, any guy my age would have wanted those jobs. And so I just freaked myself out. And I just said, man, yeah, you can try to make that work, but this just probably won't. So get a different degree, do something different. And that was a mistake. Like what a terrible mentality. So I mean, that's what. And again, it's not that I've made it. I mean, I just made jokes about how little money I make, and that's all true.
Yeah.
So it's not like I've gotten there yet, but I really feel like that put me a few years behind because I was just so terrified of failing.
Yeah.
I was so terrified of having to go back and be like, because I mean, having to go back and say like, yeah, I'm going to do media, or when you go back to your hometown, yeah, I'm doing journalism. I want to be on the radio, and then 3 years later, come back to town, and people say, well, how's that going? And you're like, haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
I was terrified of that being my answer, of failing. Or not even really getting a chance, not even getting a swing at it. So freaked myself out, which was so stupid.
Wow.
So stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's really interesting because when I was growing up, same fears.
Yeah.
You don't want the perception of you failed or you're failing and people are like, whatever, dude. Don't believe you anymore, man.
Yeah. Which, again, it's so stupid because my parents were so supportive.
Yeah.
I could have came home and said, Mom and Dad, I wanted to be a rodeo clown. There's nothing wrong with being a rodeo clown.
Right.
But I came from, both my parents went to college. Like, it was kind of expected. That's what I was going to, and they would have been like, okay, Chisholm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll figure a way. We'll make that work. Like, I could have told them anything. So I had no excuse. It was literally just my own fear, which is silly. But
yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned you read a lot. So, in your time frame right now, what book or chapter from a certain book best represents your chapter in life right now?
Oh, my chapter in life right now. Yeah, man. I don't know. This is I'm 26, but in most ways I feel like I'm 22,
Yeah.
It's just, I'm just now hitting a point where I feel like I'm gaining a little bit of traction of where I want to be.
Yeah.
But I am light years away from that point, but like and seriously, it feels like I was running in place for a long time, and now this suddenly feels like I'm gaining a little bit of ground. So I'm trying to think of a book I've read recently that would kind of explain that. I don't know. That's tough. I will say I'm always proud of where I'm from, and when people say that I want to be in sports media, and I'm like, yeah, I'm totally okay with living in Oklahoma City for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people who are trying to gun to get on ESPN or get in LA, but if they call, I'd listen to them.
I was going to say, you'd listen,
yeah.
sure.
But anyway, so like that's not my overall goal, is to be as big as possible, but like I just identify so much with this city and with the state.
Yeah.
I disagree with a lot of stuff here, but I agree with a whole bunch too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just really agree with this community. I actually just got done reading Boomtown by Sam Anderson, which is a guy who works for the New York Times.
Yeah.
Is that me? No, it is. Guy who works for the New York Times. And he lived in Oklahoma for 10 years and wrote a book about it. And he wrote chapters about, history to the Thunder, to a whole bunch of different stuff. And I just finished that book last week, and it's sad that it took me that long to get to it because it was so good. It came out about a year ago. And there's a chapter in there talking about the connection, and I know this is going to sound wild. It's the third to last chapter in the book. Everyone needs to read it, every single person that lives in Oklahoma City. But there's a chapter talking about the connection between the OKC bombing and the Oklahoma City Thunder, and how that was a moment, and then how the Thunder have tied into the regeneration of the city. That was the low point. The Thunder have helped increase the high point, not because of basketball, not because of wins and losses, not because of the NBA title, but because of the sense of community and everyone drawing together. And it is so well written. And I'm not a writer. I'll never be a writer. You'll never see by Chisholm Holland. Like that you will never see that in your life. That's not me. And it's so well written and so beautiful, and it sums up exactly what I try to explain to people who don't live here about the community and about the connection that you could feel with the city here. Based off a whole lot. And while everyone thinks that the Thunder represents like winning, basketball, or OU football represents winning and football, in reality, it represents a deeper connection here because, Oklahoma City, it's about the community. It's about everyone being here together. And it's about everyone kind of having that collective, we're cheering for this thing because we all cheer for this thing. And it's one of the shorter chapters in the book. And like I said, it's one of the most beautiful chapters of a book I've read in a long time.
Wow.
It was so good that I read it probably 5 times.
Wow.
I read through it once. I went, I got to read that because there's just so much meat to it. So that's something, just as far as hitting me home of like, yeah, like I'm happy that I live here. I'm grateful that I live here because a lot of people my age are trying to get out. And I get that.
True.
A lot of people my age are trying to move out of Oklahoma City. But it got that emotion stirred back up in me of like why I love this place. So that's just something that I read recently that hit home.
Yeah.
I'm also a really emotional person.
Nothing wrong with that, man.
No, nothing wrong with it. I got no shame about it. But yeah. So like I get like movies, dude. I'm all
Waterworks.
I'm sometimes like
okay.
I get into it. It. Yeah.
Good.
First time I watched Marley and Me.
Dude,
just
man,
in the theater, just losing my. Just could not stop it, and I felt like a child. But yeah, I'm wired that way. I get emotionally.
Dude, I love that. I'm the same way, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. The connection I feel when you talk about Oklahoma City, it runs deep. The community, the culture, and the culture. It's the people, man. They come together. We come together as Oklahomans, and we cheer for the Thunder, or if there's a downtime, we cheer to bring everyone up out of the situation.
Right.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
100%.
And it's really hard to explain for people. Through this job, I have friends who live all over the country now, which is great.
Yeah.
And it's just they're like, yeah, home court is always a great thing, or all the fans. It's like, man, it's just different. It's hard to explain because I've been to other arenas, I've seen other NBA teams play. It's different.
Yeah.
It's just different because it's. Like winning and losing isn't the number one priority. I don't think in that arena. I think it's a whole lot more about you and like the 15 people in the same aisle as you.
Dude, I'm with you, man.
Yeah.
It's deeper than winning and losing.
Yeah.
At a Thunder game, man.
Yeah.
It's just bringing people together.
Yeah.
And then you get all the adrenaline of the crowd going. It fuels the players.
Oh yeah.
It does.
For sure.
100%.
For sure. Yeah, which is why I love this job so much. Yeah. It's all that.
Couple more questions. I know you're got to go on to the side here in a little bit.
No, I think we're good.
Oh, you're good? Okay.
Yeah, I got plenty of time.
Man, if you had to think back to a certain belief you had, let's say 5 years ago or 8 years ago, what was your belief then? Fast forward to today, is it still as strong, stronger, or not as strong?
A belief that I had 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Again, professionally or?
Just either way.
Yeah. Let's see. There's a lot of stuff to pick from. Obviously, 5 years ago I was 21, and now I'm 26, and that's only 5 years, and a lot changes in 5 years.
Yeah.
I bet your perspective on life and kind of everything that you're going through. It's tough. That's just because there's a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff that changes in that time period. Right now, I would tell you something that just jumps out at me. I was 21 years old, and I can have people call in to verify. I never drank alcohol ever until I was 21. Never drank illegally. And something I struggled with early in that process was I felt like I needed to do things, and alcohol being an easy example. I'm just using that as an easy one. I always kind of need to be who people wanted me to be in a social atmosphere. I'm a people pleaser. Like I love telling people yes, and I like overbook myself, and I agree to do everything I possibly can just because I want to be helpful, and I enjoy that process of it. And early in my professional career, it felt like if I'm out with this person who's in the same industry I am, if he's drinking, I need to drink. If he's here till 2 a.m, I need to be here till 2 a.m. And there was this little bit of a thing where I was struggling trying to find my identity outside of the workplace, outside of my friend group, in a professional social setting. I was 21, and you go into an industry where everyone drinks, everyone goes out, everyone has a good time. It's one of the things that some people really love about this job is the flexibility of being able to do kind of whatever you want, whenever you want to. And man, about a year, like I was doing it because I felt like I should, because I was like, these people are doing it. I want those people to like me. Mm-hmm. So if a job ever came up, I would be one of the first names on their list. Yeah. And I just really I wasn't being authentic. And like I said, I'm a Christian, and this is not me like vaguely hinting like I was doing some extreme
Yeah.
hard drugs or anything like that. That's not the case. But I just didn't feel like myself. I felt like I was kind of compromising who I was a little bit because I've always been a Christian. I've always been someone who believed in moderation on some level. I got nothing against alcohol. I still drink alcohol, but there's moderation. There's also being a representation of who you want to be in public. And I felt like I wasn't doing that. And at 21, I was doing it because of my fear of making sure my coworkers liked me.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to realize, yeah. If you're not yourself, though, and they don't like you, if you're not yourself and they like you because you're not yourself, that means they don't like you. Like, they don't like the real you. What are you doing? You're setting yourself up for failure. And that was like a big thing that I kind of had to figure out early. It was like, oh, yeah, I just need to be myself all the time. And because this industry, there's not a whole lot of people, and one or two opinions can be the difference between you getting a job that you deserve or not getting a job you deserve. That don't get so caught up in trying to please everyone. Don't get so caught up in trying to make sure that everyone likes you, where you compromise on who you are as a person.
Yeah.
It's all those lessons I feel like every adult learns right out of college.
Yeah.
About being yourself all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So it sounds like you believe in yourself more now than you did just even 5 years ago. The strength of that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm way more comfortable in my skin now than I was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
For sure.
Man, that's awesome, dude.
I'm still trying to get there,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think I always say there's no finish line. So, I mean, we're always working towards.
Oh, absolutely.
The legacy. Speaking of legacy, man, how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be a good husband. I am so blessed. I cannot explain to you how awesome my wife is. Like I said, don't make a ton of money.
Yeah.
Her income basically helps keep us afloat. And that's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
That's not fair for her to have a really good job and have to live like she has a really below average job. That's not fair, but she makes that sacrifice. And so she's just an incredible woman. She's so loving and so carefree, and she has never said a word about anything.
Wow.
She's just not wired that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I could never thank her enough. But so I would love to make sure that I'm as good of a husband as I could be every single day.
Yeah.
Eventually I want to have kids.
Yeah.
26. It feels like I'm late to the party. Like all my friends who are my age have kids now. Which, I
got
totally
time,
agree.
bro.
Totally agree. But it feels like I'm a little late to the party. But yeah, I'd love to have kids. Love to be a good dad.
Yeah.
And leave a legacy. But what I'm trying to lately is what I've dialed into is I just want to be someone who was a great member of my community. Be a good member of my church. Be an involved member as far as a citizen goes. Be a good neighbor. Just try to take care of the people around me. Most people feel like they want to have this big global impact. They want to be this person who, like this person in New York or New Jersey or California, they know their name. And everyone's wired like that, I feel like, a little bit. I think in the past few years, though, I've just been way more comfortable with if the 50 people that I interact with every day all think I was a positive influence on their life, perfect. So, because I just think right now as a nation, as a whole, like we're struggling being good neighbors. We're struggling being good people to strangers. We're struggling with all of that. And I think a lot of that, I mean, you could point to 5,000 different reasons of why we're heading that direction. So on some level, I'm trying to be a little bit of an outlier. The fact that I just want to be a good neighbor. I want to be a good citizen. I want to be a good member of my community. But I would say, number one, take care of my wife. Number two, take care of my kids who don't exist yet.
But they will be eventually down the road. Oh yeah, dude,
yeah.
There's no question.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that. It's an incredible answer, actually. It's refreshing, man.
Yeah,
it really is refreshing.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, a lot of this, me and my wife just bought a house a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, probably not that long. Maybe like a year, like 2 months. And we had to change churches. And so, when I was in college at UCO, and when I lived in Edmond, we just kind of jumped around from Life Church to Life Church. Nothing wrong with Life Church. But I didn't have a church home.
Mm-hmm.
So this was the first time I've ever looked for a church home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because in Marlow, went to the same church as my parents my whole life. And so I just had never done that process before. And I go to OKC Community now on 23rd Street. It's a great church. And there's a pastor there named Tim. And I'd say that is all Tim. Yeah. Tim is a a great dude.
Man.
So, yeah, he's the one who's really challenged me and challenged our congregation. But just to kind of think that way on some level about who do you want to be, and I kind of think that's my answer. So like I said, I'm happy to say that's my answer, and also happy to tell you I'm not perfect at it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get better.
Yeah.
But that all comes from Tim, man. He's a great dude. He deserves a little bit of love.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Wow. Last two questions. Number one, how do the viewers and listeners get in touch with you? If no cell phone, unless you want to give it away, but
no cell phone number. If you Google my name, you can find my cell phone number from my previous job. So it's not hard. But like I said, I'm pretty easy to find on the internet with my name.
Yeah.
Twitter is at Chisholm Holland. My name is a disaster. We have outside people who consult with the franchise. They just give you like, hey, like you do this well, you don't do this well. Just they're consultants. So just here's how you improve the show, yada yada yada. And I have been told for 3 years now that like I would have 4 times more Twitter followers if my name was easier to spell. Which I can't do anything about that. But I always find that funny. So it's Chisholm.
Yep.
Yeah, the name Chisholm is tough. But yeah, at Chisholm Holland on Twitter. It's the only social media I got. But I'm on it pretty frequently. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed it because Chisholm had 2 H's in it.
Yeah.
I looked back, it's like, okay.
That second H, man, it throws people.
Yeah.
It throws people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
And whenever I'm on the phone, people say, okay, sir, can I have your first name? I'm like, yeah, it's Chisholm. Chi. No, sir, your first name. I'm like, yeah, that is my first name. I got it. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, man. Last question of the day. Chisholm Holland, do you approve this podcast?
I do approve this podcast. I do, man. It's a good time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my name is Wong Lam. I definitely approve this podcast. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you. For sure.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome, man. Thank
Cool.
you.